The main hall for the 2023 Classic Motorcycle Show, and we have here a very special guest, a man who has actually endured an extremely delayed flight from Milan to Birmingham yesterday, but finally made it in time to get a late meal last night. And well, what can you say about a man who's won 15 World Championships and 122 Grand Prix? Except to welcome in here on the stage, please, will you give a big hand to Mr. Giacomo Agostini, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to take a seat around there, young man, with a microphone, we have a seat for you whether you need it or not. They don't look terribly comfortable, I must admit. Oh, they've got a picture of you on them. There's a picture of you here on the MV. Good heavens.
I will back to Italy, yes.
And you haven't got the coloured one, which is all wrong. You've got the black and white picture. However, welcome. Nice to see you.
I think yesterday is better I come with the motor. I tried to fly from Italy to England, but I spent a lot of hours at the airport, the motorway. So next time I come with the motorbike. I think it's better.
With an MV, of course.
MV or Yamaha.
Listen, really, where would you start with this man? But I'd like to just touch on his origins in a way, because something that I know precious little about. But he was actually born and initially brought up in a place that's one of the prettiest villages in Italy. It's right on the edge of a lake in northern Italy called Lavera, I think. Lavera. And it's constantly, you know, I mean, we have a Britain in bloom. It constantly features in Italy's equivalent of that. It's a very pretty place on the edge of what Giacomo calls a small lake. Not by our standards here in the UK. It's 16 miles long and 800 feet deep, this lake. And this village is perched on the end of it. I believe your father was a local councillor in that village. Do you still have a place there? Do you still live there?
Yeah, but the road around the lake I use for training. But it's very, very dangerous because on the one side I have the rocks and another side I have the lake.
Yes.
So if I crash on one side, it's very bad. If I crash the other side, it's the same. It's very, very bad. But you know, when you are younger, you don't think about the risk you have.
But there was no motorcycling in your family. You weren't born into a motorcycling family. So how did this arise that you?
No, because when I start to race, I need permission from my family. And at 18 years old, at 21 it's okay. I cannot need any permission. But 18, and my father don't want to sign. Because he said, no, it's too dangerous and I don't want you to race with the motorbike. So one day we go to our friend, the friend of my father is a lawyer, and he convinced my father to sign. Right. But at the end we understand why, because he thinks I want to race with the cycle and not motorcycle. So he signed, and after I start to race.
But rather appropriately, in that area of northern Italy, where there are a great number of mountains and things, you actually started out hill climbing. Yeah. You actually were a hill climber, and you became Italian hill climb champion.
Yeah, my first race was with Moto Morini, and a race of the climb race, and I go with my private bike. I have a private bike, I have the mechanics. I have one mechanic, but this mechanic is a boulangerie. Boulangerie is, he makes the bread.
Yes.
It's not the mechanic.
A baker.
It's a baker. So, but I say, okay, this is my mechanic. But when I ask to change my spark plugs, he don't know what I have to do. But anyway, I race with my private bike, and we are 40 riders, and I finished second. My first race, so in the end I think, okay, maybe this is my job, because because you know, with the private bike and no mechanics, and I finished second, was a very, very important result.
And what about your father? Had he suspected anything at this stage? I mean, this wasn't a push bike. This was a motorbike. Did he know that you were doing these hill climbs?
Yeah, but after when because before he always said to me, you know, you want to race, but he's the big champion. What you do, and so it's not your job. He said, my father, it's not my job. But I said, okay, I like to try. And after I convinced him it's my job, motorcycle. But I remember also when I have 18 years old, and my father gave me a present and buy for me one fantastic car. He buy for me the Giulietta Sprint, very nice car. And I'm very surprised because it's a very expensive car, and I don't understand why. But after I understand, my father buy for me this car because I forget the two wheels. but
it wasn't that easy.
But it's not because I love the two wheels, not the four.
There's something that I'd like to, I hope you don't mind me delving a little bit like this. Tell me if you think it's all wrong, whatever. I'm just fascinated by it. Because I got a daft thing, beautiful thing called the Monza Yearbook, 1963. I think I must have bought it in the bookshop. There's an amazing bookshop at Monza. And it has all the 1962 results from Monza. And they include the first meeting of the season on April the 8th was the President's Trophy Golden Helmet. And it was run on a 1.5 mile junior circuit. Now I don't know where this exists at Monza, I've got to admit, I've never seen it. But in the 175 class, the final was won by Renzo Pasolini. This is kids, remember, on relatively junior machinery. And in second place, Giacomo Agostini. And would that have been the first road race that you tried after hill climbing? Was this your initiation into road racing?
Yeah, because with this race also always I'm with the private bike, but the important race for me was when I win my first race in La Bologna San Luca, and I win and I beat all the factory bike.
Yes.
So Mr. Morini offered me the factory bike after. He said, who is this young guy, boy? And this guy is Agostini, live in Lovere, Lago di Seo, and so. And they said, okay, I like you try my bike, the factory bike. I said, oh, I'm very happy. And if you race with my bike, I pay you also, because before I spend my money.
Yes.
Nobody, I don't have any sponsor. And he said, okay, I give you, it's like today, £80 per month is the salary. I said, okay, it's better than nothing.
Your father must have been impressed.
And I start with Morini, and my first year with Morini, I win 2 Italian champions. I win in the climb.
Yes.
And the circuit. And after that, in '64, Morini offered me the 250 bikes, and I passed my category, was a senior rider. So I win the Italian champion also with the 250, with Pasolini, Provini, with many Spaggiari, all many Italian riders.
And this was when, I beg your pardon, I interrupted you there. This was when the CIV, the Italian Championship, that I had the great pleasure of commentating on for Motors TV for several years from 2011 onwards, it was a big series. There were a lot of kids who've come through that series, and you actually won 16, one more than the world champion, 16 Italian championships mainly in 500 and 350 class.
18.
No.
He forget too.
I've been misled. No, I thought it was 16. I beg your pardon.
It's 15 world champion, 18 Italian champion, 10 Isle of Man. I know many English people.
Yes, of course. That's
many English people have more than me, but anyway, 10 world champion, 10 Isle of Man. It's not so bad. I win 123 Grand Prix. I win 313 races.
Wow. A round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. Now we get the facts straight.
Now you must sign everything, so you don't forget.
But one intriguing thing about the CIV, the Italian Championship back then, was that it was there was a lot of street racing involved, which may explain why Ago was so good on the island, because he'd had to cope with places like San Remo and Riccione and other street races like that up until the 60s, the end of the 60s, into 1970-71, and there was always at least half racetrack, if you like, closed circuits, and half street circuits, until sadly you're in heavy rain at Riccione. Your MV teammate Bergamonti was killed that day, and that kind of put an end to the street circuits. But you had a lot of time spent on street riding.
I think that the street circuit is much better than circuit, because you have the different emotion. It's different because today you go many times with the same, and you turn a lot of times. So this is why I used to race with the street, in the street, and so when I come to Isle of Man, for me, when I see the first time I see the track, I worry about it. I say, oh, it's a long one. It's difficult to remember all these cones because it's 60 kilometers. So. But I learned very quickly. The first year, not enough. So the first year, I remember one time in the practice, Phil Reed passed me. And during the practice, at 4:45 in the morning.
Yes, yes.
And maybe I still sleeping. and after I see, and before Ballow Bridge, I think it's like S, and he go maybe at 4th gear, and I go on into 3rd gear because I don't remember the road very well. But the year after, during the summer, I have nothing to do in Italy. Everybody on holiday, everybody in the beach. I take my car, I come to England, and I go to Isle of Man, and I spend 2 weeks. I rent the bike. I rent one bike, and I remember because every lap I must put oil. every lap. But I spent 2 weeks in Isle of Man alone, and I turn and I learn the circuit, because if you want to win in Isle of Man, you must know everything. You must know every corner, you must remember everything. So for me, the first time was difficult, but after I learned very quickly.
Wow, that's fascinating, closely close to Hickey. Peter Hickman did. He took a hire car and did 70 laps of the perishing place until he had it in his head. The guy who's now the record holder there. Yeah, so it's very similar.
That circuit is very, very, very dangerous, but it's very exciting. It's when you in an Isle of Man or when you're in the street circuit, it's different inside you. Of course, you don't must think about the safety.
Yes.
We know Isle of Man or like Francorchamps before, or like some other circuit was very dangerous. Also in Italy, you rode in the town, but in Italy it's not very dangerous because the circuit is very, very slowly. The cone is very slow. It's not like Isle of Man or Francorchamps. The cone is all very, very fast.
Yeah. But so this is you taking
this Isle of Man
at Bray Hill, of course.
Yes, Bray Hill.
And you won 10 TTs. You had the legendary race with Halewood, where your chain broke near the end of that race. But that must have been a fairly stimulating affair.
You want I crying again?
No. Absolutely not. Not unless you feel the need.
It was important for me because, I raced with Mike Edward, and I think Mike and Isle of Man was very, very fast. He win all the category, 125, 250, 350, 500. And 67, he have a Honda, and I have a V Augusta, and I know my bike was more easy to riding, but he have a Honda with more horsepower.
Yes.
And I think, okay, when we start with the full tank and the oil, so with the heavy bikes, I think I must try very hard, because after when the bike come light, and maybe he's faster than me, so I try very fast, and I have a small advantage, and we just battle. You know, for me was what is the dream to stay in front of Mike. But in the end, I have about 7-8 seconds, and I dream the victory, and my chain broken. So I go back to the paddock, and just I cry a little, and Mike come to me and say, "Okay, Iago, you are the winner today." I say, "Yeah, but you go to the podium." But for me, it was very good, because stay with Mike and Ironman is not for everybody. It's because he was very, very fast.
So, did you learn, like, that you were obviously teammates at MV for a year, just 1 year, was it, in the mid-60s, that you were a teammate at MV of Hale Woods, and you finished second to him quite a lot. Were you learning a lot from him during that time that he was your teammate?
Yeah, but you know, the first time I raced with Mike was one Italian race.
Yes.
I think in Modena or Misano, I don't remember where, but anyway. And of course, I try, and you know, it was my first time I meet Mike. I know he's very, very fast, and I prepare everything and so, and I win. I beat him. I am very surprised. You know, I beat Michael. But I know why, because he come always to Italy just for holiday, drinking, dancing, women. and I say, okay, for 1 week I don't have woman, I don't have drink, I don't have dancing, nothing, just I prepare. But after that, Mike say, maybe this guy is a little fast. So I don't see him for 1 week, because he stay at the hotel and so, and after 1 week he win me. He beat me. Because I'm a good friend with Mike, and I learn, and I try to learn from him, because of course he have about 3 years experience with the big bike.
Yes, yes.
In Italy we start only 175 when we start to race. In England he start with the 500.
Yeah.
So I have more experience, so I need time to compete with him. I must learn a lot.
And you were able to, eventually. There was another gentleman that we had on stage here a year ago, Phil Reed, who passed away not so very long ago. And he would also ultimately become another Englishman. You were lamenting the lack of English riders on the Grand Prix stage last night when we were talking, but Phil Reed was very much a prominent and successful member of that fraternity. What was he like? Because he joined you at MV. What was he like as a teammate?
Yeah, he raced with me at MV, and he always a little aggressive. It's not like mine. Mine is more friendly. But Phil was a very, very good rider, and also during the race, Phil. Also, if he's second or third, but with maybe 10 seconds less, maybe he want to try to win, so he push all the time. And also, when we start, I think he's a little jealous, because my family was in Via Augusta, and he come from England, and I'm Italian with the Italian team, so he think, you know, he come to another house. You know, it's not his house,
yes.
It's my house. So he thinks, but after it's okay, you win. I beat him sometimes, he beat me sometimes, so it's a good competition.
What was it like racing for Domenico Augusta? Was he eventually the reason that you left for Yamaha, that you wanted to try something else, or did he have some effect on that, Mr. Augusta? The Count?
Count Augusta was a very difficult person, but have a lot of passion in the motorbike.
Yes.
Many times he's very busy, because at the time we have about 3,500 people work for a helicopter. Because the factory was a helicopter and motorbike. And but every 3-4 days he come to the workshop just to check if is everything okay, because he loved motorcycle. He's decided to design the 3-cylinder. because all the engineer from MV say no, the 3-cylinder is not possible, it's not, maybe you don't have enough power because it's difficult engine, and he said no, I want the 3-cylinder. The Contagut, he wanted the 3-cylinder, and the 3-cylinder was made history because we win a lot of races, we win a lot of world champion, and in the end, the Contagusto died, and his brother, but the brother don't love the bike like Burnicle Augusta.
Okay.
And also I understand at the end that it's difficult to find the horsepower. I spoke with my mechanics. My mechanic was my family because I live for all mechanics more than 10 years, and they say it's difficult to find more horsepower with the 4-stroke. And I have the offer. Yamaha offered me the contract to race with the 500 and 350, and I decided to change because I see the 2-stroke coming every year, coming better and better. Yeah. And the Via Augusta just go very slowly, and so I decided to change, and I'm happy. It was very difficult to change from Via Augusta because my family from 13 years I work with the people, and it's a big family, and to go change and go to Japan for me was a little, it was a very difficult decision. But after I meet the people in Japan, and I win my first race with Yamaha, I win in Daytona, so it's coming another family because yes. I have 2 years with Yamaha, and I win 350 world champion, I win 500 world champion. I think for me was a very, very hard but very important decision because I still win with Yamaha also.
And I'm glad you mentioned the Daytona was in 1974. Remember, Daytona was always early in the year, and what Giacomo didn't mention then was that he beat Kenny Roberts in that race. And if you see any photographs of the podium, there's an extremely sour-looking Kenny Roberts on one side. This man is flanked by 2 beautiful women, one of whom is Miss Classic Motorcycle 1974, and looking extremely happy with life. And he also beat Roberts once again at Imola, at the Imola 200 later that year. Which was quite impressive stuff. Was Roberts gracious about that, or was he cantankerous about it? How did he feel?
Yeah, but when I arrived at Daytona, at the airport, I see the car, one car, white car is a Chevrolet. One Chevrolet with Agostini, 13 times world champion. The Chevrolet gave me the car for the weekend to use. And the day after, I read in the paper the article from Kenny Roberts. Kenny Roberts said, "I'm sorry, but the world is America, not Europe. So I am American champion. So I am the world champion."
Yeah, he was the reigning AMA champion in 1978.
I am the world champion because it's America, the world, not Europe. And I say nothing because I'm the guest of the American people. So I say I don't answer anything. But during the race, halfway I want to stop because I'm dehydrated. But I reading the race, and I think about all the people come to watch. Daytona is one fly from Italy, one fly from Holland, from England, from France, from Germany, and a lot of people come to see me. And yes. I say now what I say to all these people, I don't finish the race because I want to stop. And this time I think about this and this, the power coming again, and I try and I finish the race. After when I arrive, I make injection because I'm dehydrated and I go to the floor and after I go to the podium and I see Kenny Roberts. I see Kenny. I say, "Oh Kenny, I hope today you understand who was world champion." And he said, "I'm sorry, I won."
And a new race record of 105.1 miles per hour, incidentally, that day. And then, was he a little more, shall we say, generous spirited when you watch at Imola, when you're on your home turf and he was the visitor? Did he say, you know, we're still the champions, or was he a bit more, a bit kinder?
Kenny, of course, Kenny was also another very, very good rider. But I win, so I'm sorry for him.
He did get his revenge a couple of years later at Imola, when you were the third place man and he was. There's a lovely podium picture there of Mr. Robertson.
Yeah, because you know,
looking down at you.
Yeah, because sometimes the people say, okay, he win the first race because he's lucky. But
yeah.
After I win the second one, so
yes, yeah.
Maybe but it's better I'm very lucky than not lucky.
Those 200-mile races, they were quite testing, weren't they? It was a long distance and a long time.
Also, for Daytona, I'm not used to do the 200 miles.
Yes.
Normally the race is only 90 miles.
Yes.
Normally for the world champion or Italian is only 100, 120 kilometers, no, maybe 85 or 90 miles. So 200 miles was different. And also, I see many people drinking before the race, but I don't drink.
Oh, really?
Because but that day is about 45 degrees and it's very, very hot. So,
yeah.
And I'm not prepared, but the day, after 76, 75, 74, 75, I go to Daytona again, and I prepare. I take all the tablets. I take many things for the dehydration. I don't know in English what is. I take something for
dehydration.
Dehydration, exactly. Dehydration.
Yeah.
And so I'm in very good condition, but at that time the bike is. I have something the electric problem.
Yes. Yes.
So I must.
You did well in '74 if you didn't drink anything in that heat around the banking. And also another thing that intrigues me is that you, this guy seemed to have quite a love affair with the Nürburgring. You always did well around the huge Nordschleife, the original Nürburgring. But that again, with your base in street racing on the island, did you really like the Nürburgring as a circuit?
Yeah, because my first time for my first Grand Prix. In 65 was at Nürburgring, and I win with the 350.
Yes.
The 350 and V3 cylinder. I win with G. Redman, Mike Haywood, and so I'm very, very surprised because you know it's my first time I meet all the world champion.
Yes.
And I'm all the Italian champion. So and I win the race, and I'm very, very happy because. And you know the life. I win my first race in Nürburgring, and I win my last race in Nürburgring.
Yes, the last four-stroke Grand Prix win for a long, long time was at the Nürburgring. And also, when this guy went into cars, followed Haywood into cars, and in fact followed him into the European Formula 2 Championship, the only top 10 finish he got was at the Nürburgring. You obviously absolutely loved the place on four wheels or two.
Yeah, I like Nürburgring. I like very much.
Tell me, one little strange thing. You know that the Nürburgring has many classic corners, but the original Nordschleife. But the most famous one is the carousel, which is a kind of concrete-filled ditch on the inside, quite steeply banked. Do the bikes actually use that the same way that the cars do? Do they go inside the carousel? Where it's quite steeply banked. I've never seen a picture of the bike doing that.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Yeah.
You must go inside, but it's difficult when you go out.
Yes.
When you go out, it's always you must keep some space because when you go out with the bike.
Yes.
You need maybe 2 meters for safety. You know, to not touch the barrier or the guardrail.
Wow. I've actually had the pleasure of doing a lap of the Nürburgring, rather embarrassingly in a Skoda Fabia, which is a hire car, and Whittam had lost his license at the time, and he very reluctantly let me have a go. He was panic-stricken all the way around that tyre squealing lap. But I remember the carousel as being an absolute high spot, but I just wondered how two wheels dealt with it as opposed to four. Listen, this gentleman also had a brief career in a British-based Formula One series, the Aurora Formula One series, with a Williams that they bought off Frank Williams.
Yes, it was a very nice experience. I decided when I retire and I think that because I want to help to forget the 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So because and I had the opportunity. Marlboro said to me, "Okay, you try with the cars, but just it's finished. My career is already finished." But the first I tried with the Formula 2, and for me it was very difficult, the Formula 2. But when I changed with the Williams and Formula 1, it's a little better. And I don't win, but
you had some good rosters.
I finished second, 4th, 5th, 8th, 3. But
actually, somewhere down here, I've got your record. I was surprised at the number of rosters.
No victory.
On British circuits, this was on English circuits. Yeah, good stuff.
But also it was difficult because I must forget something from motorbike and learn from the car.
Yes.
So I have 2 things to do. I need the time, but I spent 2 years, and I'm happy because now I know what to drive in the Formula 1 cars.
Yes.
It was a very good experience also.
Listen, people are indicating to me that we're running out of time, which seems immensely mean to me, I must admit. But I believe that, Giacomo, you're apparently permitted to sign 2 things per person. This is what I've been told at this here table. But I feel like we've hardly got started. Thank you very much indeed. It's been a real pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you later. We'll have it back on stage.